7 years in government, 6 budget deficits, 5 ministers for sport, 4 leadership challenges, 3 prime ministers, 2 attacks on Medicare, 1 big mess, and still 0 plan for jobs. Australia has had 7 years of the Liberal Party in government. We're about to see their 7th budget this Tuesday. Let's explore 7 of their biggest budget sins. Lust. I'm not talking about Malcolm Turnbull's bonking ban. I am talking about their lust to destroy superannuation. This may be the budget that cuts the superannuation guarantee from 12% right down to 9.5%. 4.2 million Australians have been forced to rely on their superannuation to survive during this pandemic. But let's hear from an expert.
Grand theft Liberal Party style against the working population of Australia.
Gluttony. We know Tony Abbott loved a good onion. Gluttony, to overindulge at the expense of others. In 2014, this government started cutting $11.8 billion from our aid budget. And last year alone, they cut 11%. When the Liberals cut our aid, they are literally taking food out of the mouths of the poorest people in the world. Greed. People have said to me that Clive Palmer is possibly the greediest person in all of Australia.
Billionaire Clive Palmer has had a public meltdown over the $30 billion dispute with the state.
An expensive legal fight with a man who has the ego and money to tie WA up in the courts for years.
But I would never say that. He might sue me, just like he sued Malcolm Turnbull. But the government can't escape the influence that Clive Palmer has on the Liberal Party. Clive Palmer spent $89 million to help re-elect Scott Morrison and the Liberals. He's suing Western Australia for $30 billion. And Scott Morrison's team supported him in the High Court. Sloth. This government is slow to act on everything. They voted against the Banking Royal Commission 26 times. They're slow to act on the aged care crisis. They're slow to act on climate change. And Parliament has only sat 80 days since January 2019. Wrath. The ABC has felt the wrath of the Liberal Party. $84 million in cuts. The 7:45am news bulletin was cut after 80 years.
And spending on external television productions will be cut by $5 million a year.
Envy. Envy is the driving force of the Liberal Party. There was Abbott versus Turnbull, then Dutton versus Turnbull, then Dutton versus Morrison. Who's going to be next to tear down Scott Morrison?
This is my leader.
There you go.
And I'm ambitious for him.
Yeah, good on you. Thanks, ScoMo.
Support the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Well, I support that. You're asking me hypothetical. I support Malcolm Turnbull as Prime Minister.
Pride. I'm going to end with a Labor Party sin. None of us are perfect. Labor is proud of Medicare. We created it.
That every Australian, from newborn babe to Prime Minister, can share in the cheapest, simplest and fairest health insurance scheme Australia's ever had. Medicare.
And this is why, budget after budget, the Liberals come after Medicare. In 2014, Tony Abbott tried to introduce a Medicare co-payment, and Scott Morrison backed him all the way.
From the introduction of a $7 Medicare co-contribution.
Then, in 2016, we saw the government try to privatise Medicare payments. And now we have JobKeeper and JobSeeker being wound back. After 7 years of budget sins, we know this year's budget will have more of the same. Cuts to health, taxes on education, no action on aged care, and 1 million Australians without a job. 7 years in government, 6 budget deficits, 5 ministers for sport, 4 leadership challenges, 3 prime ministers, 2 attacks on Medicare, 1 big mess, and still 0 plan for jobs.